The Orlando Magic got a much-needed win against the Charlotte Hornets last night. It was just what the doctor ordered, and it came off of the back of Paolo Banchero as he scored 24 points and added 8 rebounds in the 102-86 win last night. Look, the Charlotte Hornets were banged up, but this was definitely what the Magic needed to go into the All-Star break. Guys, welcome into the channel. This is Magic Digest. I'm your host, Previty. This is where we talk about all things Orlando Magic basketball. So make sure that you guys are subscribed because 75% of you guys who are watching the videos regularly are not. So join the 25%. We're trying to build an Orlando Magic basketball community here on YouTube. Subscribing is the easiest and best way to do so. Today we're going to be talking about the game last night. Finally getting around to being able to make a video on it, but I figured it was important because this is the last game that we're going to see for about a week with this Orlando squad, and there's a few other things that have been going on around the Magic basketball community that I also wanted to touch on, such as the Fultz signing, what Nurkic said about the team yesterday, too, in the postgame. I thought was really interesting. But let's start with what happened last night, why this win was so almost inspiring, maybe. Now, I hate to be so wishy-washy, be like, oh, my God, this is the biggest win of all time, especially whenever I've been a very pessimistic fan over the last 2-3 weeks or so, especially since we didn't do anything at the trade deadline. But this was one of those games where, hey, look, this team can win, and this is how they do it. They do it behind a very efficient, well, very might be a bit of a stretch, but he shot a lot of threes, so 4 for 9 from 3 was efficient. An efficient Paolo Banchero scoring performance, and if Franz Wagner isn't super aggressive, then we also open up the bench, and we see who else can support Franz and who else can be that third guy, especially when Jalen Suggs is out. We found it in Cole Anthony. We definitely found it in Anthony Black. He had his best game in a while with 18 points, 8 of 13 from the floor. Wendell Carter Jr. showed up when we needed him, and it seemed like Jett Howard, even though he only had 6 points, was really effective on the defensive end. Now, there were some different minutes that looked like they may have been played with by Jamahl Mosley, so that is something to keep an eye on in the future. But this was a team that has not done well without Jalen Suggs. They have had 19 games this season without Jalen Suggs. They are 5-12, or 5-14. Better math. They were 5-14 in those games. Yesterday was the 5th win, obviously, because he's still out. I believe that would be his 9th straight game out. He's not coming back, like I said, until after the All-Star break. We'll end up having to see how he looks by the time he comes back. But we know that this is a team that struggles without their point guard. Maybe he's not the table setter that you like. Maybe he's not the offensive player that you might think is going to solve this team's problems. But he does a lot for this team. He does a lot for the squad, and they certainly needed him, during this last stretch before the All-Star break. Now, this team does move into a better position as far as the standings go, and I think that that's something that is really important to talk about, too, when we're saying, hey, look, we beat a team that was depleted in the Charlotte Hornets. Well, this Orlando Magic team now moves into the 7th seed, still in the play-in, but they are not too far behind the Detroit Pistons. It's going to be up to them to be able to catch the Pistons, and we're right in that log jam. Tonight, the Miami Heat do play. I believe they're the only Eastern Conference team that does play, so we'll have to just monitor them. Hopefully they end up losing. The Magic get a little bit of an extra boost going into the All-Star break. But Paolo Banchero, when he plays efficiently, this team can beat almost anybody. Also, the NBA's poorest three-point shooting team, the Orlando Magic, worst since the early 2010s Bobcats, shot pretty poorly in the first half. 5 of 21, 23% in the first half. Then came back 9 of 22 in the second half. That was 41%. And there was a moment in this game, 55-55. Paolo Banchero, Cole Anthony both hit a couple threes, and that was able to push them ahead. They ended up going into like the latter half of the third quarter with a 12-point lead. And they built that, and they never relinquished a double-digit lead to this Charlotte Hornets team. This Hornets team was without LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges was the leading scorer for them, and they're maybe particularly in full tank mode. But who cares? Like I said prior to this game, they needed a win, and they were able to get it. Now, another thing I did want to touch on was some of what was talked about post-game for the Orlando Magic. And then after this, we're going to be moving into the Markelle Fultz news. But first, yes, Paolo Banchero on the KCP ejection. When you see one of your starters, a veteran, get kicked out of the game like that right before the half, I think it just adds some fire coming out of the locker room. They obviously played with a bit of a spark in the third quarter, and it really helped that those shots were falling, that they were able to get something going, and that was positive. We had a bit of a technical issue as far as just the players just racking up techs like back to back to back to back. We had I don't even remember what the stat was, but there was a time maybe like December and early January where there was like an issue where we had guys getting teed up every single game, and it was consecutive. But yeah, KCP ejected at the end of the first half after John with Nick Smith Jr., but that was a whole bunch of nothing. But they got to do what they got to do, and it's nice to see that at the very least they are trying to rally around that, and hopefully get some positive some positive energy even when something negative goes on. So I thought that was really cool, really important. Giving a little sneak peek there to the different things that we're going to talk about. But here, Jusuf Nurkic on the Magic. They are a really good young team, and they are doing a really good job. They have a really good coaching staff, but I think they're missing one player. I can't name it, but that's my little fella from Portland. Obviously, he's mentioning Anthony Simons, who he was saying was going to be like somebody that potentially the Magic could target. Well, obviously that didn't happen, but it's one of those things that I thought was really interesting. I wanted to share because it kind of made a lot of people talk, but it was maybe not the game. Obviously, Nurkic on the Hornets now and was saying, hey, guys could have got him, right? Could have went out and got him. All right, let's take a look at the Shams report. Markelle Fultz is going to sign a deal to go to the Sacramento Kings. Kings now will have him as some sort of depth for them. I think that's a really good signing for him. I haven't talked about Markelle Fultz a lot on this channel, especially since the season has started, but I feel like it's one of those moves that it's a good for him move. I think we're all rooting for Markelle Fultz. It's so unfortunate that his time didn't work out with the Magic, and I think when people will look back on his career, I think they'll think of him as an Orlando Magic player rather than a Sixer. Or if there's any other stops past Sacramento, any other team, hopefully he catches on with those other teams because becomes known with them. But I think he got his shot in the NBA with the Orlando Magic after that trade, and it didn't work out. Obviously, he had more injuries on top of whatever was going on with his shoulder, whatever was going on with his shooting form. But even though he was never able to stay healthy with the Magic, I know a lot of people still were rooting for him and really liked him. And it's nice to see him get another shot. So that's always great. But, guys, let me know what you think about this Orlando Magic team going into the All-Star break. Obviously, we're going to be watching the Rising Stars game with a couple of those guys. No All-Stars, but still okay. Maybe we'll talk about if there was a case for Franz Wagner in the coming days. I saw a really interesting article about that. Definitely want to touch on it a little bit. I don't know how much I care too much about Franz and Banchero and them making it. I don't think it was a snub because I think they were both just too injured, but still interesting nonetheless. So I'll check that out, see if there's something on the horizon with that. And obviously, Mac McClung. If you, depending on who you are, if you've been watching this video waiting for me to mention Mac McClung, well, here's the mention. He's going to try to go for his third straight dunk contest win. I know they're doing a lot of advertisement, a lot of video stuff for that. So it would be also pretty great to see him, come up onto the to the big boy squad. He's been killing it in the G League. But lots to watch in the All-Star break. But let me know what you guys think about the state of the team, everything going on. And also, go to the community tab. I had a poll, and I was asking what is going to be the record for the rest of February when this Magic team comes back. 5 games. So take a look at that. Let me know what you think as well. But until next time, I will see you guys with more Orlando Magic basketball content.